Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you, Dean? Nice to see you again.
Yes, Cheryl, you are one of the only very, like, literally handful of people who've actually come back for a third appearance on a
Oh,
podcast that's
my
only been
pleasure.
recording for like 14 months. So always nice to have you back. Thanks very much. Okay, new questions this time around, Cheryl. And so first, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to throw you into a brand new hypothetical.
Okay. So, a little bit about me. I am the owner of Spin Market Plus Digital. We, of course, are a digital marketing agency and provide digital marketing for a variety of companies all over the United States and internationally as well.
Right?
So, excited to be able to talk to everybody here today and give you some ideas as to what a fractional CMO is.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. First hypothetical. Everything's been done. The contract signed. It's not even virtual. You're actually going to show up someplace. Maybe they're like in your town. Okay. It's day one. When you walk into a new client, what's the dream scenario for walking into a new client, and what's the nightmare scenario, which you've probably technically literally experienced? What's a nightmare scenario on day one when you walk in to that new client?
Well, if you want me to start with the nightmare end of it, yes, it's when you have given them a list of to do things and they tell you that they've been too busy to even do them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a red light right there that this is going to be an interesting conversation and an interesting client.
So you're
Even
not
though
even starting at the starting line. You're starting back from the starting line.
that's right on there, because there's always things that you want them to do and to
Sure.
think about before you walk in the door.
And what's the dream scenario then?
Dream scenario is that they have all of that, our onboarding that we give them ahead of time, that they've actually put everything together, have it all organized, understand timelines, and what we've given them as our timeline for us completing everything, and how important it is for them to be following through. Just understanding the complexity and the logistics of doing a project with them, and understanding that we're a partner at the very beginning. And if they have all their things ready for us, that's a great start already at the very beginning. Anything that we've asked for that they have, we know that chances are we're going to be
Cool.
on a good start.
All right. And Andy, hi.
Howdy.
Welcome to episode 166, your first appearance of who knows how many. Maybe more than like three. Who knows? So,
Yeah,
Andy,
maybe.
tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to ask you about the nightmare dream.
Sure. Yeah, I've been in marketing digital for 20 plus years, been
Mm-hmm.
doing fractional interim for about 15. And part of that, I was at some big companies like Williams Sonoma and Dell. But it's been a good ride. So I've really enjoyed, this evolution towards fractional work.
All right. So, same scenario. It's day one. You're going to show up and start work. It's like, let's say a Monday. What is sort of like the best case for when you show up, and what's the worst case if you show up?
The best case is people are aware that I'm coming, that
Helpful.
they've
Yeah.
like Cheryl said, they've done some preparation, they've thought about what they're trying to accomplish. Hopefully the CEO has mentioned my arrival and has sold it into the company just a little bit,
Right.
and people are excited and open to change. I think the nightmare is when you face a company that's there's a lack of trust. They're concerned about what's happening. Why is this guy here? They're not prepared. That's when it really can take a while to kind of get your toehold.
Okay, so let's switch to another hypothetical. Andy, we'll start with you. So
Okay.
the next three questions: you're the speaker. You're on stage. The audience has 250 people in it. They all just came out of corporate. They all became fractional CMOs yesterday. Yesterday, like fresh baked. Okay,
Okay. Wow. All right.
and you're the expert, right? You're the you've been through the wars, kind of thing. So let's start with the first of three. So finish this thought of talking to this audience. You're going to say, guys, starting out as you are as new fractional CMOs, the thing that's going to shock you the most is what?
I think that part of it is that you're working on a different timeline and horizon. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're the long term goals are certainly shared, but I think the fact that you're trying to effect change right out of the gate is something that's a little bit different. Also that there's no perfect scenario. There's always going to be things that you're challenged by. You're going to be working with weak resources, and it's more than ideas. It's figuring out how to get things in motion. That's really the key.
Okay. And then Cheryl, how about you? You're talking to this audience. They all just popped out of corporate. They're all brand new. They all think this is the lifestyle for me. This is how I'm going to live my life, make my money. And you say, guys, the one thing that's going to shock you the most about being a fractional CMO is what?
How little in the marketing area the people that you are going to deal with really know about digital marketing out there. You're going to be really surprised at the education that you're going to have to bring into those meetings and that working with them as well. And I liked Andy's comment on that in the regards to when you are working with them, you need to understand that no matter what you're doing, that you're making changes out there, and they need to understand that. So there's so much education that goes behind it. And I think a lot of times fractional CMOs are thinking, okay, all we have to do is go in and show them some new techniques or ideas and be those new eyes. But really, the education part of it is sometimes overwhelming, what you have to do initially.
Yeah. All right. That's good. And then, okay, so you're still on stage. Finish this thought. I think it might be a continuation of something you just said. But folks, I want to warn you ahead of time. Many of your clients just don't understand what? Cheryl.
Don't understand that the people that you're communicating to, the digital people that you're going after, are not as sophisticated as you may think they are in your communication to them. Again, another education component on there. It's a totally different world. And while you expect them to be very savvy in how they take digital products and services or whatever you're marketing to them, they don't necessarily understand all the logistics that go behind it.
Right.
As an example, right now I'm working on setting up text messaging for a client. They had no idea the different things that we had to do long before we even set it up. They just expected you just set it up and it's automatically there. There's all that logistics that go behind it and that backdoor work. And a lot of times, again, that's the education part that comes with working with any client out there.
Right. And Andy, what about you? Most clients just don't understand what?
That it's hard, that a key really is prioritization. That's really the biggest impact I can have out of the gate. So you have to be willing to let go of some projects. You have to be able to lean into other ones. And, the CEO, I think as much as anything, needs to be open to change and understanding what their role is and how they affect the organization.
All right.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to ask both of you this one, but we'll start with Andy. Okay, Andy. So, the intern's trying to pull you off the stage, like the music's coming up. They want you to be done, but you really want to say this last thing before you get off stage. And it says, guys, if I could leave you one lesson about getting clients, here it is. Andy.
I think it's just networking, build trust, and then referrals. I've gone back to agencies and others I worked with that I've partnered with, and that's really the way to get the clients. Certainly having a few brand names in your background helps, but it's not about sending 1,000 inquiries. It's about finding people who trust you and will refer you.
Cheryl, how about you? The number one lesson to pass on to these brand new fractional CMOs about how to get their clients or their next client is what?
Andy really nailed it right there. It is having that rapport with the current clients you have and being able to utilize that networking off of them. Referrals, that's great, but usually it ends up being, in my case, talking to them and they're in a conversation with somebody else, and looking for somebody like myself, a fractional CMO, to come in, and that's where we get the best, and that's the best relationships because they understand already who we're working with and what we're doing, and can really form those networking tools to get that next client out there. It's all about who you communicate with and who you run into on the elevator, even sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So Cheryl, you talk to lots of companies, you talk to lots of prospective clients, you know, and so the thing about marketing is almost everyone thinks that they understand quite a lot of it, whether they do or don't, you know. And so marketing is kind of unique in that way. No one, you know, no one goes around thinking they know a lot about engineering if they don't know anything about engineering. Right? So as you talk to clients, things are always sort of coming into fashion and going out of fashion. What do clients talk about or want you to talk about to them that's overrated these days? And what's underrated? That's sort of what's underappreciated that most clients would benefit from if they paid more attention to it.
I would say the answer to both sides of that are AI
Yeah.
on there. I tell clients you need to embrace it, but you also need to understand the limitations behind it as well. And when certain things are not necessarily appropriate for it, and other things are, and what you have to put into it. If you think it's just going to work by itself, it does not. There is things that you need to be um, programming it to do and giving it that information. But I say embrace it and don't be afraid of it, but understand the limitations behind it.
Right. And Andy, how about you? What's overrated these days when you talk to prospective clients, and what's
What I
underrated?
keep finding, AI, that's completely, I mean, that's huge,
Yeah.
certainly, in its impact and its limitations too. But I think it's I keep running into sort of the shiny object syndrome where it's like it's the next best thing, whether it's AI or something else. We need to do this. It might not be right for the business. And I think the other thing is competitors. They're always like, well, you know, company X is doing this and we want to do this. And I really think it comes back to it's, you know, understand your competitors, understand the market, understand technology, but know yourself well. Know yourself, what you need to do, and understand that and line things up and support that rather than chasing those shiny objects.
That's a good answer. Okay. So, Andy, as you're talking to prospective clients and trying to understand if there's a fit, what's a red flag and what's a green flag for when you're talking to a prospective client about whether or not, you know, the two of you should start working together?
I think a red flag would be, you know, I think, you know, I'm not a miracle worker, nor is anybody who does what I do. I think it's understanding that that they need to be open to change, that they're excited about it, you know, that they understand that they're going to have to look inside. That's a green flag, and one that where, you know, I'm, like I said before, I'm not showing up by surprise. The red flag is some of those things like the shiny objects, the
Right.
fact that they expect miracles that they don't know what they want the person to do or what kind of things that they need to change are. Not that they need to understand it completely, but that would be key.
Right. And Cheryl, how about you? When you're talking to a prospect, like what sort of a red flag this client would not be for me, or maybe even for any fractional CMO, and what sort of a green flag?
Red flag definitely is their unrealistic thoughts of how long something takes to actually, as I say, percolate out there. Because just because it's digital, it does not mean that it happens overnight. As well as the comment that I get frequently, well, I don't see our digital ads anywhere out there. That's another one that I always I'm chuckling like Andy out there. They're going, I don't see it, so it's not happening. That's not true. You know, that's why we have all the data and the information out there. But I also throw into that conversation and say, I'm not marketing to you. I'm not spending your money on marketing to people that don't need me to be marketing to. I'm spending your money on those
Right.
that you want to get through the door. So understanding those are red flags that you need to have something in your back pocket to explain to them how this all works. Otherwise, you're just going to be fighting it all the way. Green light is when the CEO or whoever is the head of that company actually shows interest, comes into the conversations with us, works with us on it, and shows that they're committed behind it, because that is so important to having a good rapport with everybody all the way down the line, and having that individual being receptacle to those changes that you're asking.
Right. Okay. So that's the third of our hypothetical. You guys did great. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So part of the weirdness of this podcast is that guests pick their own time slots and dates. It's always on a Thursday, but you get to pick, which means that it's almost like you're in a building full of fractional CMOs and you're on an elevator and one other fractional CMO gets on the elevator with you. Like, it's completely unscripted, not curated. And so I'm going to open this up to you guys. So, like, Cheryl, what question would you ask this other fractional CMO that you just got in the elevator with, which is Andy? And then Andy, what question would you ask Cheryl? It can be anything you want.
First thing I would just ask them, hey, my name is Cheryl OHern. I'm with Spin Market in Fort Dodge, Iowa. Tell me about where you're from. I'd like to know more about you. And we've got 30 seconds in here. What's your elevator speech?
Yeah, Andy, what is your elevator speech? No pressure.
I've worked with companies of all sizes, from startups to established companies, and been able to drive record revenues everywhere. And I like to make change, and been successful, and I enjoy it. And people seem to be left the better for it.
There you go. That was really good, actually, and probably right under 30 seconds. Yeah. And then Andy, what's your question for Cheryl?
What drives you to be fractional? Why do you like it? Why aren't you? I mean, what more so than being a permanent role?
Yeah, there are easier ways to make a living.
Well, that's true, but every client's a new adventure. Learn something about their business, about what's going on, and you always end up meeting more exciting people out there.
Yeah, so variety.
Never a dull moment.
All right, so this was great. Thank you both very, very much. So before we let you guys go, Cheryl, like, who should be contacting you these days? What kind of companies with what kind of problem, and what's the best way to get to you?
Well, as what our customers think our clients think all the time, everybody's your market, but that's not necessarily true at all. That's not, everybody's not your market, but someone that's looking for fresh eyes to look at everything, to look at what you've been doing in the past, look at where you're going, look at your goals, and bring in fresh ideas, some suggestions of what you want to do, and be willing to embrace what we're doing and accept those changes out there. So those are the clients, and not necessarily more of a small to medium sized client out there, because I find that is more of a fresher group to work with, and understand that we're putting traditional marketing in along with digital marketing. So it's a combination of understanding that as well. So perfect client, small to medium sized business. You can contact me at cheryl.ohearn@spinmarket.com and be happy to have a conversation.
All right, excellent. And then Andy, who should be contacting you these days to get their problem solved, and how should they get to you?
Yeah, I tend to sort of focus more on consumer companies, B2C, DTC, though, B2B that functions a little bit like a consumer business is also of interest. I do tend, like Cheryl, I work with typically with smaller and mid-sized companies, because you can affect change, and they're either like trying to get traction to start to grow, or if they're mid-sized, they're how to get unstuck. I think, but the exception is I have worked with some larger companies, like say Ethan Allen, doing an interim role, and sometimes it's a strategic project like a website redesign, where they need a whole lot of information and coordination and experience to sort of pull it all together. So that's also an opportunity.
Right. And how to get to you.
And I'm Andy@naileditdigital.com.
That is an easy to remember email address. Andy@naileditdigital. All right, cool. Guys, thanks to both of you for being here. This was great. And thanks for watching. And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so much.